And now, ladies and gentlemen of the old world, get your books of grudges out and welcome to the showdown between the Dwarves, who shall be led by Grombrindle. Also going to be accompanied by two Gyrobombers. Certainly should be quite a bit of fun. And today, my friends, we face off against the dreaded High Elves, who shall be led by Alariel the Radiant, and I think it's going to be the mighty Gabo Slayer. Got a Noble here, some War Lions, Lion Chariot of Crace. Things are about to get pretty wild for sure. Now, as far as the build goes, a lot of people, this was actually a battle from one of my streams, but it was so damn good I figured we'd run it back. But the Gyrobombers for a long time were considered a pretty heavy-duty meme, and they still aren't the best unit in the game, but against High Elves, I think they actually have some decent applications. Now, I would recommend bringing, maybe one, and let's go ahead and take a look at why. So they got a buff recently, which is the suppression mechanic. So Gyrobombers, when they shoot a chariot, single entities, and that's really common for High Elves. The more meta stuff you see basically is Alariel. You'll see double nobles on chariots, and sometimes you'll see like double Great Eagle as well. And the healing can be really oppressive, and also the single entities. So having the Gyrobombers with the suppression mechanic to slow them down on top of Rune and Wrath and Ruin can buy time for your Thunders and your Cannons and your other pieces in your army to really do the heavy lifting. So it's going to be 36, and Rune of Wrath and Ruin I think is something around 50, or is it even more? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while since I played Dwarfs. But double Gyrobomber, and honestly, their bombs aren't bad against White Lions and Swordmasters and some of the very common AP troops you do see in this matchup. So definitely an interesting unit, and I really do think the metagame for the Dwarves is shifting away from traditional ground forces, and I think that the Royal Dowie Air Force and the Greenskin matchup and the High Elf matchup I think is going to become very common. So double Gyrobomber, double Brimstone Gun as well. Brimstone Guns, of course, anti-large, armor piercing, very good against the chariots and monsters that the High Elves really like to abuse to win this matchup. That's pretty much it for my Air Force. And here on the far side, it's going to be Miners in the front line, so obviously I'm not trying to win any beauty contests here, so just going to be using them to kind of slow things down. In the reserve, we do have two Thunders and a bunch of Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, actually three Thunders. One is kind of offset back here. Dragonback Slayers, Grombrindle, and the Runesmith for the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and more Dwarf Warriors on the flank. So not really elite troops, really going to be putting a lot of weight on my Air Force to try and win this game. And now for the forces of the Gabo Slayer here, he does have Alariel the Radiant, and she's a good pick. Healing is really good on the Nobles, and also Tempest is incredibly powerful. I mean, look at the value he's gotten so far for sure. If over the course of the game, he's really consistent with just casting his Tempests, things get really nasty for sure. White Lions into the Sunset and Noble, and a very interesting new addition here. It's going to be War Lions of Crace, which certainly aren't bad against Dowie. Mobile, great AP values, pretty good combat stats for the mighty Lions, and a bonus for his infantry as well. That's going to be it, and he does have the Lion Chariots of Crace. So let's get this party started, guys, and have some fun. So here you can see the mighty Tempest is activated, slowing down my Gyrocopters by 72%, unfortunately for me, and breaking them very, very quickly. So that was quite punishing for sure, but now there's going to be a returning salvo of fire now that Tempest is on cooldown, and the thing is, every Tempest that is used is less ones of magic to heal the Nobles and the Chariots and things like that, so I suppose we've gotten some good value there. But here you can see the Gyrobombers are slowing her down to 70 speed with the suppression mechanic, and the anti-large cannon shots coming in from the Brimstone Guns are doing some good work, so I'm very happy about this initial trade. Obviously, Alariel has plenty of ways to heal all over the place with the Star of Avalorn plus Earthblood, but any pressure we can put on her and then switch to the Nobles and just kind of keep that constant pressure on the army as a whole, it's going to be good. So here, this Gyrocopter did come back, which is pretty huge for the mighty Dowie, and the Gyrocopter is going to be shooting at the Lion Chariots of Crace. And the anti-large and the armor piercing, very useful, but my opponent here doing some really good juking, pulling back and forth and mitigating a lot of the shots that could potentially be doing huge HP damage to those big juicy models right there. So the Gyrobombers are going to be falling back. I kind of wanted to put some pressure on the Noble here, and something I noticed is that Gyrobombers certainly don't have a ton of ammo in their miniguns. For some reason I thought they had a lot more, but even a couple volleys on Alariel, and I was starting to run very low. So the miniguns are going to be opening up here on the Noble, who is slowed now, down to 49 speed, and that's super valuable. I mean, that's almost the ballpark speed of Slayers, for example. So being able to suppress something allows your Slayers and your gun units to get more value, and it's really, really good for the Dwarves overall. So here we have the White Lions of Crace coming in. The Dwarven Thunders are going to be opening up. They do have 30% missile resist, which makes them very good against the Dwarven gun lines, which is probably why they're one of the more common picks. So in this case, we're going to be sending in the Runesmith to slow them down, and Grombrindle is also going to be going over here to try and break the charge of these guys and allow the guns to shoot more, because Gromby, unlike the Miners, is a single entity. It's a very small target. So for example, he'll be able to fight them, blob them up, and then the Dwarven guns will continue to shoot. But a big nasty overload's coming over here. You can see it's going to be very, very crazy as the mighty Lions of Narnia do blitz down the hill, and many of my Dwarf Warriors with great weapons very ill-equipped to deal with this fight, of course. So a pretty big flank overload. I think it's just War Lions, though, and the Lion Chariot of Crace as well, which is being blasted by my Dwarven guns here in the low ground, and also from the Gyrocopter with the Brimstone Gun. So anticipating that this rush is going to be coming even further, I get my Dragonback Slayers here, I get ready to pull back my Thunders, and then the Slayers are going to be rushing in, and Slayers are essentially a hard counter against War Lion type units. Now the Slayers will take a beating, A couple bombing runs going down as well. A little Apocalypse Now action from the Gyro Bomber. Trying to send a message to those mighty lions, but this is a good situation. Yes, I'm losing a lot of Slayers and HP, but we're also getting a lot of damage back. Now in the center, it's pretty much a complete rout. Obviously, it's a miner against a Lariel, a Noble, but the entire time, you know, my guns were singing. You can see the Gyrocopters here, the Bomber, and the Brimstone gun were able to polish off that Noble, despite a Star of Avalorn actually healing him. He's at 7 HP, and pretty much will be a non-factor as this game does approach its conclusion here. So the Noble is going to be running for the hills, shattered, 7 HP. But the War Lions feast tonight, and yeah, you can see we're trying to really finish that guy off there. I really wanted to get rid of that Noble. But as far as this side of the battlefield goes, it's going a little bit better. My gun line here is stabilizing. I have plenty of Dwarf Infantry. The Gyrocopters and the Gyro Bombers are really helping to support this middle position. Granted, I am going to be losing one of my 3 Thunderers here, and in response, I do pop the Grombrindle Has No Fear, which gives the entire Dwarven army unbreakable for a period of time, just trying to keep these guys fighting, to hold this force in place to allow my Gyro Bombers and the rest of my army to also maneuver while that's active. If we look up here on the hill, you can see the Slayers still in the fight of their lives. Only 10 kills, but a lot of HP damage has been done to the War Lines of Krace, both of these units, but they will eventually be dragged down. Having them fighting White Lines of Krace, the infantry, obviously isn't a great situation for me, but yeah, just trying to pop a Lariel, but Goblin Slayer here has been doing a very good job juking back and forth. He's been flying up and down and diving to mitigate all those shots, and ammunition is pretty much out of my Gyro Bombers. Granted, I still have most of my bombardment, so I think I have like 8 on one and 10 on the other at this point in the game, so I was feeling quite good about that. So Lariel juking, you can see what I'm saying. He's like attacking, pretending like he's going down, then pulling back up right before she lands. It's a very micro-intensive thing, but it's very good for avoiding this type of missile fire from cannons, from gyrocopters, because changing your elevation is really good against like cannon-type units. And now as far as the battle goes, the High Elves are kind of pulling back in. I was very ahead in the beginning, obviously with the gyrocopter harass, but as my ammunition runs out and you know, my force over here gets very heavily compromised, things get a little bit messy. So Gromby is able to hold back here, hold back the White Lion force for a period of time. And like I said, this side of the battlefield we have stabilized. We have the Dwarf Warriors, we have a single Thunderer unit here, and another one that did rally at the edge of the map. So that's certainly quite good. So now the Gyrocopters with the Brimstone guns are going to be going after the Pigeon Queen. She's getting danger low for sure. About 1,000 HP. And these Dwarven miners are going to be getting overwhelmed by the forces of Narnia here, so certainly can't do too much about that. So now we're going to be resecuring our position. Gromby's going to be moving up to intercept this force. I wanted to use Gromby here to have my opponent blob on him, which, you know, seems like it's going to happen here. And then from there, we can use the Gyro Bombers and those other assets to really get good value, because the bombing runs can be quite punishing. So here we charge in. Gromby going to be leading a glorious Dowie Grudge charge into the White Lines here. And it looks like it's also the Pyramid Company. So here we're going to be getting our Gyro Bombers just in position to go. In the meantime, our other Gyrocopters I sent into melee combat with the Lariel, thinking it would be able to finish her off, but she, of course, has the AoE regrowth here, so she is able to kind of survive that Gyrocopter harass. In the meantime, the Narnia boys are able to go over here and go after my Thunderers and shut them down. The Runesmith and the Dwarf Warriors are preparing for this position, but now comes the Apocalypse Now. The Gyro Bombers getting some good bombardments across the lines. A little bit of a miss there, but certainly doing some nice splash damage. And we are able to pretty much break off one unit and actually do massive HP damage to the Pyramid Company. Gyro Bombers are... you know, I think they're pretty cool, man. I think, I don't know. It's weird. In my mind, they were such a meme for so long. And here I actually go hunting with them in melee combat. So I use the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, slowing her down to 30 speed. And the Gyro Bombers are going to go hunting in melee. And they are single entities, you know? They have like 88 weapon strength and 40 melee attack. So Lariel is being attacked by the Gyro Bombers. They're certainly ramming that mighty Pigeon Lady pretty effectively. And let's take a look. 700, 600 HP. She is taking damage. Her melee defense holding somewhat firm. But like I said, 41 melee attack certainly is not bad. A little bit of a dangerous one for me, though, because in charging in, if I don't finish her here, the Lions are able to jump all over my Gyro Bombers with their good AP values, and let's say I lose my Gyro Bombers, that would be a disaster. So in response, Grombrindle comes in and does use a Flash Bomb, which slows down these units and maybe allows my Gyro Bombers to get away, but damn it, Alariel gets away with like -5 leadership there and 350 HP. We were so close to finishing her, but the Gyro Bombers obviously don't have the massive punch in melee to do that. So she's running towards the edge of the battlefield. If she comes back, it's going to be a tough game, but if she runs off, I pretty much 100% win. But she comes back, and that means there's probably going to be some more heals, and now we have an even scrappier game on our hands. So here the Runesmith and the Dwarf Warriors are trying their best to fight the Pyramid Company with a little bit of a Overwatch support here from these Thunderers, who now have to turn around and stop the advance of these White Lines here. Nothing like the Dwarven powder singing. White Lines are pretty quick, 33 speed against 28 of, I guess, many of the Dwarven infantry units. And now we have Gromby a little bit blobbed up here, but the Gyro Bombers are going overhead and doing massive bombardment runs, which actually does pretty good damage and also hurts the leadership of these units. So Gromby is pretty much 100% able to win that situation there, and the Lions now going to be going after the low-hanging fruit. Going to be trying to take out the Runesmith and go after the Dwarf Warriors here, and then probably finish off the Dwarven Thunderers, which It's going to put me in a little bit of a precarious situation. Here we have the white lines once again blobbed up on Gromby. As far as kills, it says 0 and 3. I mean, I guess they've probably got way more than that. I don't know, it must be a bug or something. But a brutal bombing run comes down and wrecks those guys. And still 0 kills. There's no way it got 0 kills there. This replay was from a previous version. So sometimes the kills and those type of things can be a little bit bugged out there. But Gromby's getting in, settling some grudges against his foul ancestral foes, the High Elves, which have always been a pretty tough matchup for the Dawi here. But he's able to get in there and do some work, and now we have the war line swarming all over the Runesmith, which is definitely not good. If the Runesmith gets taken out and Gromby is forced to fight all these guys alone, that can be very painful. In the meantime, I have my gyrocopters with the brimstone guns, which are of course out of ammo, chasing down Alarielle, trying to get her with those rotor blades. And I do use my last couple bombs to try and break off the war lines, but they're pretty durable lines here, and they are able to break my Runesmith. And now it's basically Gromby versus the world. Gromby is a little bit low in leadership, very, very tattered at this point, but I know that the war lines are all super beat up as well. And using the rear charge penalty plus smoke bomb here could be enough to break these guys. So the Gyro Bombers are going to be coming in. The mighty Dawi Air Force staying persistent here into the fourth quarter of this battle. Grombrindle taking a lot of AP damage with his glorious dwarven mullet there, but another Gyro Bomber dropping a nice one right there, taking out a couple of those lions. And here comes the Gyro Bombers once again. And you can see the High Elf forces are in a bit of a mass exodus. The bombing runs plus the single entity attacks here with 88 weapon strength from the Gyro Bombers are doing some really good work, and it looks like that is going to be a break. The only thing left really is the Pyramid Company. A couple Dwarf Warriors are coming back in as well, and some of the Dwarven guns have come back also, which is really useful. I mean, stacking those leadership penalties, of course, being shot at applies penalties, rear charged, you name it. But I don't know, Narnia may feast tonight as these poor dwarves are about to be attacked by the Lion Circus show here. And there they go, the Lions getting in there, punching a couple dudes, and I don't know, maybe they'll be able to fight. Probably not. I think those Lions will probably win that fight. Yeah, they're pretty scrappy. So here we go, the second wind here from the High Elf Force. Alarielle in Mortal Kombat. She actually is able to beat the gyrocopters back there. I was surprised once again, but of course she has got pretty decent combat stats for a caster character. 45, 47, certainly not bad. So there, the Pyramid Company is broken. The dwarves have made their stand. The two Gyro Bombers are here to stay. Send a message, and now we have another fight as the Lions do come in. I use a Rune of Wrath and Rune to mitigate their charge bonus. A couple dwarves are being taken out in the process, but the Gyro Bombers coming in with the Runesmith being rallied, of course, and saved by Grombrindle. Should be enough to win this fight. I have enough single entity characters here and powerful units that the war lines are very, very low in their model count. And their melee defense isn't necessarily the best. Although it looks like a couple of these bad boys have earned chevrons over the course of this battle, which is never a good sign. Balance of power is actually evening out a little bit as the Lions are coming back in, and Grombrindle is broken. Oh no! He breaks, but then suddenly the Gyro Bombers break these units, and you can also see that Alarielle is wavering, and there's no way that she could beat these two Gyro Bombers in melee contact. And the Runesmith should be able to talk some sense into old Grombrindle here and get him back in his fighting spirits. And here comes the Gyro Bomber pursuit of Alarielle, and that is going to be game. Man, that was an insanely scrappy game. And I have to say, man, I'm enjoying those Gyro Bombers. I really am. Now, I don't know how this build would have performed against, Gabo after the game mentioned that he likes to bring double Great Eagle to shut down Gyrocopter play as well. So what you could have done there is cut like 2 lines and get 2 Great Eagles or something. That might have been a little bit harder. Granted, you do have the support from the ground, and if there's less lions, then my Thunderers are more effective. So it's kind of a give and take, right? But I don't know. Something to think about. The Gyro Bombers are actually really useful. Pretty good SC damage in the beginning, going after the Noble and the Chariot and Alarielle and suppressing them. And also the bombing runs, as you saw over the course of the game, were super valuable. As a matter of fact, both Gyro Bombers earned a chevron, which is a testament to how much damage they did, despite the fact that their kills didn't really reflect on their bombing runs. But yeah, it was a fun build. I don't think going elite Dwarven infantry against Elves is effective because the chariots and things like that just wreck them. I think you got to go cheap. You got to use your guns, and I think brimstone guns are going to be a key to success. As a matter of fact, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe just cut the Runesmith and just get another gyrocopter with brimstone guns. So if they do go, my brain just totally locked up there. It was thinking 5 different things. If they go with 2 double Great Eagles, then you can split up in more directions, and they have Air Force, and you can usually win those trades with good micro. So something to think about. But anyways, well played, Gabo Slayer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Dwarf versus High Elf showdown. We will see you guys back with more content soon. Take care.